Hey everyone, it's Monday. Happy Monday.
Monday.
Welcome to Unveiling Beauty. We are so excited to be back with you guys tonight with a very, very special guest. But before we jump into her, hey Ammon, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Here we are again, another Monday. They all keep rolling together.
I don't have
Weather
Ammon.
is still cold here in Chicago, so I'm still jealous every time I get to see you with that beautiful background. It's May. I think we've
All
had
right, I
little
think
like
we're having a
snow
little
flurries the other
technical
day. I don't know.
snafu here.
You can't hear me, Nick?
All right, so I think Ammon's going to jump back off and come back on in just a minute. Gotta love technology. Everybody in the world is on social media right now. Everybody's using every form of technology. So you just got to roll with the punches because that's just the way it works. But we have an action packed show tonight. It's really about talking about what's next. What does all of this mean and how we get through this, how we get in a bigger, better way than we did coming in, and talking with one of our favorite people in the whole wide world, Mary Rector Gable, about what she's seeing in the industry, about what's happening with BTC. It's also her 20th year, so we're super excited to talk about that. Lots of good stuff on the conversations tonight. But I think we're getting
Uh,
Ammon back.
I'm here. Can you
All
hear
right,
me?
welcome.
Oh,
Hello. I'm like, am
that's
I
never
going
happened
crazy? No, I know,
right
right?
off the get-go.
There's our first. Happy Monday.
It's
It's a
it's
Monday.
going to be one of those technology Mondays, I guess,
That's
huh?
it. That's it. How are you?
I'm excited. I'm really thrilled and really grateful that Mary was willing to take time out of her uber busy schedule to speak with us today. So respected in the industry and so valued with her perspective and what her company is doing to always just make the lives and support the professional industry, the hairdressing industry and beauty industry as a whole. So I'm excited.
I am too. Well, without further ado, she needs no introduction at all. Please welcome Mary Rector Gable. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, good. Good to
Good.
Good.
see you.
Good.
How's it going? I see you're out at the cabin.
I am. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, social distancing. So, yeah, it's just me and the deer. And
So beautiful.
yeah, it's gorgeous out here, but it does feel a little like I'm literally out in the wilderness. So, it's like it's a whole other world of coronavirus that I'm dealing with every single day right here from here. I don't think I've actually ever worked this much. I mean, I think we're all working 14-hour days. So,
Yes.
it's sort of like, as I keep saying to hairdressers, to try to like, just get into that right frame of mind that you just take the punch to the gut and just go, guess what? Right now, you're going to work twice as hard or three times as hard for half the amount of money. But right now, we're in the fight to save your business, and you just got to take the punch and just say, you know what? This is the way it is. We're going to fight for our dream, and that's what everybody's doing. We're all doing it. So
I
that is
agree.
the thing. It's nobody's fault that it happened. It happened. I mean, I suppose we could all say it could be somebody's fault, but the point is that we're all in this situation, and we're all trying to figure out, the best way to move forward. And so, yeah, our team has worked really, really hard to try to give hairdressers as much information and as much support as we can. So it's been
I
a
love
crazy
it.
time. Yeah. How are
Yeah,
you
for
guys doing?
sure. We're doing good. We're doing good. Yeah, I mean, totally crazy time. Pivoting it's like fluid and
Yeah.
pivot are the words of the
Yeah.
year, right? It's
Yeah.
like you have to be super fluid with what's happening and make sure you
Yeah.
act on your feet. And at the same time, you have to pivot all your strategies that you thought were the plan for this year. Like every
Yeah.
best plan is now like totally like ripped up and thrown out the window, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're rewriting the back half of the year, but that has its exciting moments too, right? To figure out the
Well,
new normal.
the one thing that we've learned, like I said, my team knows me, and I talk about, scare and prepare. So I would rather scare myself and scare my team, because then we can prepare. So it's sort of like we live in a, let's get really scared. Let's do everything that we can to think about every worst case scenario. Truly, let's think about the what if this happens, we're going to do this. What if this happens, we're going to do that. And so by the fact that we did get scared, we did see it early kind of happening, then it was really about, and we're a secure company, so I was able to keep all of my team on board, even though we lost a lot of business, obviously. But they instead of they got scared early, and now we're just pivoting to try to do everything that we can. But what we do know And this is the really positive part of this is opportunities always come out of crises. And innovations always come from crisis situations. And so those that are paying attention and have some level of security, like they need to be thinking about how they're going to create innovation and how not only are they going to save their business, but what's going to come out of it that's going to be positive. And there's a lot of opportunity here right now.
There is a lot of opportunity.
You guys for sure. And as like we keep talking about, security is the new luxury. It really is. Being secure in your salon environment is a luxury now, and it's something that every salon owner and every single hairdresser needs to be so conscious of the fact that they're really going to get one shot to make their clients feel safe going into the salon. And they're going to need to do every single thing in their power to make sure that not only they do that, but the salon owner is making sure that everyone else in the salon is doing it as well. Because I think that's the thing that we need the most. And you guys, I know, just opened up some salons today, right?
We did. We opened up a little over 100 stores. Wow. And a little over 60 salons. And that's really in an effort to, really look at these government orders, make sure we're following the guidelines, making sure that we're doing it in a safe and cautious way. Because you know what? At the end of the day, nothing is more important than keeping our associates and our guests at the front of everything and being healthy, right? And taking care of them. So we did open effective today in some states, and super excited about that. The stylists were excited to get back to work. We're going to take a phased approach, and we're only going to do it where it really makes sense. And we've partnered with medical experts to help us make these decisions. And we didn't open in all services. We just opened in hair because we wanted to really go slow to go fast. So as far as skincare and cosmetics and brows and makeup application, we're holding off on all of that. We even are asking that when you enter our store that you don't use any of the testers, that you use it to look at to figure out what color you want. But the whole experience of trying everything on right now, we're going to pause for a minute and make sure that we're practicing our social distancing and the proper sanitation. And we've taken a bunch of steps to really make sure that we're safeguarding our salons and social distancing, so every other chair is closed, and every station is cleaned before and after every guest, and everybody receives a new smock and cape every single time that's freshly laundered, and masks are required for the associate and the guest. So really taking all of these different guidelines to really make sure that we could do everything possible to keep everybody safe. And that's really what this is all about.
So for everybody that's coming in from my Facebook, this is, we're talking about Ulta. So Ulta has how many locations nationwide, Nick?
Over 1,200.
1,200.
Almost 13. Almost 1,300.
1,300. And so, and you have, how many associates do you have? How many hairdressers?
Hairdressers, 10,000.
10,000.
10,000. So what state, so the thing that's so important, I think, about what you guys are talking about is the number one thing that everybody wants to know is, how do I open safely? That is the number one thing everybody wants to know. And the unfortunate thing is every state is different. Some states allow blow dries. Some states don't allow blow dries. Some say coronavirus is on the hair. Some say it's not. So can you tell us a little bit about, did each one of the, because I know our audience is like super anxious to try to find these things out, and you guys are the best of the best in terms of making sure that, Ulta is just always, from your customer service, we all know how good it is. Everybody's got their Ulta numbers or loyalty cards, like all of it. So we know that you guys are never going to put your team in harm's way. So talk to us about how you decided, what those rules were going to be, and are they the same in every state, knowing that that each state has kind of some different rules?
Yeah. So it's a great question. And we literally have a task force that meets every single day to talk about what we're doing across the whole entire organization. You can imagine how many different parts of the organization are involved in making sure that we do this the right way. And then we've partnered with our legal teams, and then we've partnered with the medical experts to say, okay, how do we want to do this in an Ulta Beauty way? But then how do we also want to look at it case by case, state by state? And we look at every government order by state, by county, to see what we should do, how we should approach it. We have a general PPE protocol that we put into place, right, that we feel keeps everybody safe based on the guidelines that are out there. But then, like you said, each state is different. So in some states, you can open up doing hair, but you can't brow and cosmetics. Or to your point, some states you can blow dry, sometimes you can't. So we're looking at all of that, and then we take our guidelines and we match them up with the government guidelines, and that becomes their new guideline. So every single person, we literally go store by store, person by
Wow.
person to make sure that everybody's taken care of.
So, Ammon, you're staying busy.
It's keeping our teams like around the clock. Like you said, 14-hour days. It's like me and Nick were joking. I'm like, we have never been busier, honestly. Just round the clock, making sure that everybody is watching. The rules are changing every single day. Fluid is the word of 2020. Every day is fluid. We're changing every single day. But the teams honestly are optimistic. They're all optimistic because they feel a sense of pride in what Ultimate Beauty is doing and has put together in terms of keeping everybody safe, in terms of putting the associates and our guests at the forefront of our decision making. And so it's important, and I guess it goes without saying, like the morale of your team reflects when they feel like they're connected to something that's really
Yeah.
really important and they're doing the right thing for people. So although we're working way harder than we ever have, everybody is like digging in and just working and happy to do so because they just want to do the right thing and make sure everybody's taken care of and is safe.
How are you guys, because you are so centralized in terms of what your overall programs are, but now obviously quite decentralized as it relates to the individual states and cities and counties, because no one state is similar. Some states are dictatorships, if you will. Um, Others are, allowing their mayors and the different people, to their. I mean, it's different in every state. There is no consistency. So one of the things I'm wondering is when you're talking about social distancing, you guys are saying that you're doing every other chair. Are
Mhm.
you starting with a certain number of guests coming back? Like, how are you rescheduling guests that were originally scheduled? Because that is one of the biggest things that that I think everybody's been dealing with is what is the best way to reschedule your guests?
Yeah, I think get ahead of it, plan it out. The one thing that we did is we brought back it while we're opening in waves, we bring back our teams a few days in advance to go through all of the new training protocols.
Okay,
That's
good.
both on the retail side as well as on the service side of our business. And we ask our service professionals to go through all of the training, no matter what part of the store you work in, so that they can understand the different parts that really kind of intersect to make sure that everybody is safe and everybody's following the protocols. So to your question is, how do you schedule? You really have to get ahead of it, and you have to take the time to really book out. Like we call it VFAs, value future appointments. So what we're looking at right now is what does the next 5 to 6 weeks look like for those salons that are open, and really taking the time to make sure that we're scheduling those people. Because here's the thing, being that every other station is closed, not we don't have the same operating hours as we did before, right? So you have to be more strategic on how you schedule your people. So we're telling our teams, like, really get strategic in getting your guests in. Make sure you come up with a plan so that when your guest sits down, you can go through that consultation and already have a plan in mind that you can guide that consultation with, and then follow all the protocols and leave time in between each guest so that you could resanitize your station, swap out everything, and get ready for the next person to have the same safe experience. I mean, we've taken extent so much precaution that literally the magazines in the salon, we threw them all out. Like, there's no magazines anymore, like,
Yeah.
because we just want to make sure any way we can that we're not serving coffee right now, things like
Right.
that are just part of the experience. We're saying, you know what, we're going to wait on that for a while. It's going to be about really making sure we can give you that one-to-one experience and get you your hair done in a really safe environment, and that's what's most important.
What states are open right now for you guys?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna let
I
you
I
and
do
know.
I
Ammon
do I
know.
do know Utah's open
Yeah,
because
I knew Utah's
my
one open for sure.
family.
I've been looking at charts of states every single day, so I get them all like
I know
confused.
our editorial team's done such a great job. One of our editors wanted to take on like literally all 50 states and keep a like every single day update every single state. So we have this map that keeps changing, like
That's what
of
we
the
do too.
state, which has
Yeah.
been so amazing that
I was
she's
gonna
done.
actually, I was gonna ask you one of those questions, Margie, or not Margie, Mary. Margie's our producer. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, your team has done such an amazing job of providing like resources for hairdressers to go on and get updates. I feel like oftentimes as a hairdresser, I could go to Behind the Chair's Instagram and get more valuable like resources in terms of updates and what's going on around the world than sometimes if I turn on the news where it's just kind of vague. So tell us what like that workload has been like for your team. It's got to be around the
So
clock just monitoring
it
that.
it is. So we started. I sent everybody home on Thursday after our New York show. So we did our show that day. We had close to 1,000 people, 850 people at the door. At the New York location. Our first city of our 7-city tour that unfortunately is 20th anniversary tour. We
So sad.
redo next year. But by Thursday, by Tuesday, we were nervous. By Wednesday, we were back in Chicago. We were supposed to stay in New York that week. And then by Thursday, I sent everybody home. And then a lot of my young team flew back to their hometowns. And so we were actually sort of and we said, okay, guys, we're going to quarantine. We're going to go ahead and then if wherever you guys want to hang out, like if that's your parents or whatever. So a lot of our young team actually flew back to their locations. The first thing that we did was we said, let's, I talked to our editorial director and I said, we're going to stop writing about hair. And this is obviously a huge deal. We need to start paying attention, and the hairdressers, from the very first moment, I think the very first thing that we did was made a really big decision about BTC University, where we generally have every single video is $24.95. So there's like 65 videos there of all of our BTCU lives. And we made a really big decision to try to help out. We couldn't make it free, but to say all 65 of these videos, 100 hours of education, we're going to give it for free for 3 days, and then it's $1 a day. So it's $1,500 of education. And that was a huge risk. It really was, because you're hoping that you get enough people to make it make sense. And then we want them binging out on education, because education is so incredibly important right now.
Yeah.
The problem, and it's been a huge success. Over 3,000 people are now using that resource, and they're binging out on education. And so that's what's really been exciting to be able to see that. The next thing that we did was start looking at everything that hairdressers probably would get uncomfortable with. We know that hairdressers don't love to read through lots of fine print, so we tried to take the PPP program and PPE and take the small business loan, like all of these different things, and break them down in a hairdresser's language to help them understand exactly what it all meant, so they would be able to fill this information out. So then what we did was we immediately put together guidelines, because a lot of salons were still open at the time. And we put together all of the disinfectant and sanitation guidelines, and we made all these PDFs for them that they could download free of charge. And we made them cute and everything, and official, so they could print them off, and they were putting them in like picture frames, on the stations and at the front desk. And now recently what we've done is we've given them releases for clients for root touch-up kits. Today we're releasing, and this is a big issue, today we're releasing one about don't sue me if you get coronavirus. That's a huge issue that salons need to be aware of, is the potential liability of clients that come in and they get the virus, not knowing where they get it from, because that's going to be a huge issue that we're going to be talking about a lot. So we've got 2 different things for them to 2 releases, and then we have downloadables for trying to get your landlord to delay your rent or to lessen your rent. So we basically have tried to take all these scary things that cost money with attorneys and create those, and we've used some attorneys to do that, so they don't have to pay the money to do it, and then they understand all of these things. The download's just for, here's the signage in the salon, don't come in, please. It's only, you can contact us, but don't come through. Yesterday alone, that was downloaded 14,000 times.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday. Just yesterday, for all the different signage. So I think, it's been, I think my team is like we had over 1 million visits, 1.1 million visits to the site last week. Last week. It's insane. So it's, and it's all coronavirus related. So we just wanted to kind of become that daily update, so hairdressers would know where to get their information. And every time the big new one is rescheduling, everybody wants to know about rescheduling. So, we're just trying to support hairdressers that are trying to go back to work, but we also support those that don't want to go back to work, that are afraid, So everybody's got to make their decision. There's no good, easy choices, but they have to make those decisions.
Yeah. Mary, to answer your question about where we are alive today, so to keep me honest here, Arkansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Utah, and South Dakota, we have stores and hair services open. And then we also opened Texas for just retail. And now starting next Monday, we'll go into hair as well. They come in
Okay.
Wednesday to start training.
What about Georgia?
No, we decided not to go into Georgia. So that's the other thing that we're doing. So what we do is we take all the government, orders, and then we put it against ours, and we put it against a heat map of our own internally that we have that shows where the most outbreaks are. And then that's when
Wow.
we decide how we're going to continue to open up. So in some states, we may have 10 stores, but we may only open two stores at that time because the heat map shows that it may put somebody in jeopardy, so we don't want to do that. So that's why we're not always opening in the states that are opening up.
That's really, really interesting. So do you guys have certain, when you talk about your heat map you're talking specifically about outbreaks with that heat map based on where your store
Stores are
locations are?
located, correct.
So do you think the government could maybe like watch what Ulta's doing and maybe get some idea? I don't know. Just a crazy idea that maybe somebody with a brain could do it.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. What I have realized through this whole thing is I'm so happy that I'm not in government and that I am in beauty
Ugh.
and that I work for Ulta Beauty. Those are the things that I know for sure out of this.
Well, and I want to talk to you about something about Ulta because, people have been asking me a lot of tough questions.
Yeah,
And, I'm 54. I went through the, recession of 2000, the recession of 2008, lost over half of
yeah,
everything, close to bankruptcy easily in 2000, 2001, 2002, just right after, starting the company and then boom, like right into a terrible, dot-com recession. I just, what I realized and what I remember back then is about 30% of salons, maybe even a little bit more, went out of business. And one of the things that you and I were talking about going back pre-coronavirus,
right.
which feels like forever ago,
It
right?
sure does. It sure does.
But you were talking about how, we had this whole conversation one night, I think you and me and Ammon, talking about, how salon owners, there's so many great hairdressers, and they think by being a great hairdresser that they should open a salon, that that's their next step. And one of the things yeah, look at Ammon, he's like, yeah, no. um, but one of the things that I just that I think about is, and I had a live. I've been live more than I ever have, and I was just thinking about, sometimes the most courageous thing in the world to do is to quit. And people say, well, that's being a quitter. But sometimes the most courageous thing in the world to do is to identify what you do best and be okay with the fact that
For
your
sure.
path is not the right path. And I remember you guys telling me that you have actually had some entire salons, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people say, hey, I don't want to run this salon anymore. I'm not great at it. I want to go back to being a hairdresser because we know that the majority of hairdressers make more money behind the chair than they ever do as a salon owner. And stylists out there, guess what? Your salon owner doesn't make much money. Stop being hard on them.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so
Right.
so I'm wondering, this has got to be a time right now, and layer on top of that fear of social distancing. How do I figure out the economics don't work in most salons. Social distancing, only getting 50% of your clients. If you're not double booking that chair, meaning you've got,
Yeah.
one stylist in for half the day, another stylist in for the other half the day, 7 days a week.
Your income is cut. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, if you're not if you're not comfortable figuring out the financials around that, you may not make it, and you may decide that this is not what you want to do. And I know that you were saying with Ulta, you guys have really embraced those hairdressers that have come with a book, and they have come by saying,
Yeah.
I don't want to manage anymore. Can you talk to us about what the experience is like?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I always say, there's booth renters, there's independent salons, there's owning a salon, there's working in a multi-unit salon or for a big chain company, and they're all great options, right? There's not one size fits all for everyone. I will tell you, I always laugh, and I think my happiest day was when I opened my salon, and my happiest day was when I sold my salon. That's what I
That
always
that
say.
that was the expression on my face too. Like I loved
Yeah.
I
it, but I
know.
was like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the truth. What I realized for me during that time was I was doing so much management that I lost the passion of doing hair behind the chair because I was torn to do all the management material all the time. So I couldn't play with the right and left brain as much as I wanted because I then opened a second salon, and it just pulled more of my creativity away to operations, right? So that got really hard for me because what I really loved about the beauty industry was the doing, right? Was the actual act of creating beauty. funny, fast forward now I do more of the operations and business than I do the creative, but that was just part of my own personal evolution. So I think everybody evolves in their journey, right? And I think whether you want to open a salon tomorrow and you want to be your own owner, go for it. Like if that's something
Yeah.
that's in your gut, you need to do that. Whether you do it and then realize, hey, you know what, this wasn't for me, that is not a defeat, to your point, right?
No.
That is just a part, it's just part of your journey, and you're pivoting and you're moving in a different direction. So yes, we have had owners of salons come to us and say, "Hey, listen, I don't want to do this anymore, and I have a great team that I don't want to let down. Can you help me, because I want to make sure that they have a great home, and I know that you guys have great benefits and you've got great products and all of those things that we stand for." So we've taken complete salons of people and brought them in. Fortunately, we have the size of,
Yeah.
over 1,200 stores that we can do that. And it's funny because, as I said earlier, we have just about shy of 10,000 professionals, but yet we still have space for about another 8,000. That's how big
Wow.
we are, so we're constantly growing in this. And that's what a lot of people are finding out today. Some people who went out and said, you know what, rental was for me. Now coming through this pandemic, they're like, wow, this is actually frightening being my own boss in a
Yeah.
place where I'm 100% relying on myself for the income. It's not like I even have a salon of people that when I flip the switch back on, they're going to now start driving revenue. Well, in a booth, it's all you. So that's hard to come back to. Not right or wrong, it's just a different path. So I think that's been the beauty of kind of this path that we're on, is that we're this beauty playground, and whether you're an esthetician or an arch expert or a makeup artist or a hairstylist, that's the beauty of being able to work in our environment and then grow from there. And that's what's been really fun, and that's what's making me proud during this time, is how our company is really taken a very, very, very careful look and thoughtful look at how we make sure every single associate in our company is taken care of through this time, one way or another. Every decision has been taken down to the associate level.
Yeah. Ammon, I know that day to day you're working with all of your more senior associates and the ones that are responsible for motivating that, your individual stylists at the salon level. How are they doing? And what are they feeling? What are they hearing from everybody? How are you guys able to sort of overcome the fear? I mean, are you sensing a huge amount of fear? Not as much fear? Are there any things that sort of drive that?
I will say confidently, I don't sense a whole lot of fear from our associates, from our top level associates, especially. They feel a large amount of like security and a large amount of safety, and mostly a lot of gratitude. I do know that, of course, like all hairdressers, they have friends that don't work for Ulta Beauty, so they have friends that they talk to, and that they relate with, and they like feel and sense the fear from other stylists. And I think that it's been a sense of pride for them to be able to talk about, the opportunities and the feeling of safety that they have. Going back to the salon ownership and that journey, like, I don't regret for a minute being a salon owner and the things that I learned. But I dang sure, like I called Nick the other day and I'm like, I'm walking around, here with my mask in Chicago. And I just thought to myself, I'm so grateful that right now I'm here and that I don't have a staff of,
Yeah.
15 stylists in New York City and rent in New York City that I'm having to worry about right now. And that, the stylists that work for our salons, they get those benefits. They don't have to worry about having, like, if they did, have to go to the hospital or whatever, they can maintain having their benefits. So there's so many things that make me so proud of where we're at and so grateful for where I'm at, and that I think that it's very eye-opening for a lot of stylists who at maybe a few years back had not looked at Ulta the same way that they do now.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of the way that we've been able to shift a little bit of that perception in the professional hair industry's perception of Ulta Beauty.
Well, I mean, you guys are, in Nick's last role, I mean, what you did there, Nick, was like, I mean, I, I, I mean, I just remember thinking it's just not possible, and you did it.
No, thanks.
It's crazy. So the really exciting thing I think is going to Ulta, which already had such a strong brand, a sense of brand. It was just the salons that didn't have as much of the sense of brand. So between you and Ammon, I think really bringing that and bringing that creativity and the structure that they desperately needed, and then also just the visibility, I think, for the industry that they needed, really gave people that view that, that Ulta was a great place to work. I mean, because everybody on the associate side that are working in the stores, they already knew that. It was the stylists that didn't quite know that until I feel like you guys got there and then put programs in place for them to really get educated. But also, like, your commission structure is amazing. Your benefits are amazing. And it's crazy. Like, really, I mean, it really is.
Mary, it's so funny. I think about when I first started in the company and they started talking to me about everything that they were doing, even when I started. And I was like, why is nobody talking about all this? Like,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
yeah,
And that was when I realized, like, the only thing, well, not the only thing, we had to do a lot, but the one thing that we had
yeah,
to do first was tell everybody about all the great stuff that's happening here that everybody knows and lives every day, but the
yeah,
industry didn't know about it. So that was our first mission, was to really just tell the story, like celebrate all the things that Ulta has done that's made them so successful over the years, because they've done a lot of great things and our salons prove it and our stores prove it and all the products. So that was really a big deal for me. And when I think about all the people in place, when I think about our education teams and I think about all the different programs we have and the career opportunities and our field teams, like all of that infrastructure that no one knew about. And then we just kept building on it. And now we've strengthened it over the last few years. And that's been really cool to shout from the rooftops because, the company didn't wake up overnight and do something right. That was years of building.
yeah. Well, and I think, um, the one thing is that you have to also think about, there's an evolution to everything, right? Like, I think we've reinvented behind the chair 6 times over the last 20
Yeah.
years. And there's an evolution to everything that
Yeah.
we do. And then there's opportunity, I think, that pops in. And I think that you guys are going to experience, because everything that you have done, like I was saying before, is a guest that comes into a salon that doesn't see protocol like actually happening for safety may not say anything, but they may not come back.
Yeah,
And
of
that's
course.
why it's so incredibly important that the protocol is maintained across an entire salon, and that hairdressers, not only that their guests feel confident and comfortable, but the hairdresser herself feels, comfortable, and that the
Of
diva in the
course.
salon is not given permission to say, I'm going to take off my mask. I don't really care about that. And then the owner being afraid, to say something, because this is a
Yeah.
bigger deal than anything we have ever experienced before.
Yeah.
And I think for people that think it's not, they're mistaking. 90% of the people may come in and say, I'm not uncomfortable. But you've got 10% of people who may have lost a family member, a grandmother, grandfather. My design director lost her grandmother to coronavirus a week ago, and they had
Terrible.
to say goodbye through
A video.
FaceTime.
Mm.
My
Exactly.
gosh.
So,
Horrible.
one of the things that we learned in the study that we did, that I'm going to release here in the next couple of days, is that if you have experienced somebody in your family or a guest, if you know somebody that has experienced, that has had it and been in the hospital, not just had it in the hospital with it, you only want to, that group only wants to go back. About 34% of them want to go back. The ones that didn't know anybody, it's almost 70% that wants to go back.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's a big difference. People are afraid, but it
Yeah.
is still the older groups for the most part that are getting it. So I don't
Yeah.
think that most people should be afraid, but it is what it is.
You made a good point when you said, even if 90% are happy and 10% aren't. Well, when you think about our size, we have
Yeah.
33 million loyalty members. So 10% of the people is a lot of people. So that's why we had to take such extensive protocols and safety measures to make sure that no one feels unsafe when they walk in our door.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I was telling the head of marketing and the team at the marketing team, like, I can't even believe that they made PPE protocols look ultra beauty, fun, and cool for our stores. Like, I'll send them to you. Like, it's pretty impressive that they were able to make them look cute and fun and,
They're cutesy
cheerful.
branded,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, but you got to do it. You got to do it to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so how about you guys? I mean, personally, how are you guys managing through just this, I think, you guys are obviously with Ulta, but you both have been salon owners before. Like, what advice would you guys have to salon owners, right now dealing with what they're dealing with? I know I was supposed of course I can't help. You're supposed to be interviewing me,
No,
but
I
I'm
know. I
interviewing
No,
love
you.
it.
this
It's
is
fun.
perfect. It's so funny.
We're
It's
gonna
so
take
funny.
turns interviewing each other.
I can't
I
help
love
it.
it. I know. Ammon, I'm gonna let you answer that one first.
That's a tough one, Mary, because I don't think that it's like one size fits all every situation, right? I think that it all depends on, how well have you set yourself up as a salon in terms of being financially capitalized to be able to like weather the storm, so to speak. I know I've spoken to a couple of, friends of mine who are salon owners who are in situations where they're able to kind of weather the storm and slowly try to work their way back, and they're hopeful and they're optimistic about it. But I have a lot of them that they just didn't plan ahead or think ahead or save enough. They never thought something like this would happen. And it's like what you said, like most people don't realize, I think, that salon owners, if they're not doing hair, are probably not really actually making that much money, right? They're not
Yeah.
making that much money from the actual salon. But the stylists are helping paying rent, and then they're making their own money just by doing their clients most of the time.
Yeah.
And so I think in those situations, I think a lot of them are intimidated because they don't know the right way to take care of or handle all the government, funding with all their guests. They don't know how to reopen with the right, safety protocols, and only, half of the income because of social distancing. So, I think any advice that I would give them would be to just think about, sometimes I don't know if this is for everybody, but like in some of those situations, I really do believe that the universe like presents like times for you to make a decision where it's like a chapter turn, right? Whereas like, okay, so maybe my salon is not supposed to open right now, but it doesn't mean I need to give up on my career as a hairdresser. I can find a place for me and my stylists to go to help us still continue to take care of our guests, stay strong in the beauty industry, whether it's Ulta Beauty, which we would love, or some other place. Just something, my biggest wish would be that people don't just give up, that they just don't drop out of the hair industry, that they don't just like throw their arms in the air, and we don't lose the power of the beauty industry, because that would be the most sad thing for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think advice to a salon owner for me would be I really hope you like looked into the PPP and really took advantage of what the government had to offer to help yourself and your team. I would say that's first. And then second, as you're thinking about opening your doors, you have to invest in the proper PPE because if you don't invest in that, you won't have a future. So
Yeah.
you have to put the safety of your associate and your guests above anything else, even your own pocketbook. And that's tough. And that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, but it is critical. And I've heard conversations with some people saying, oh, this will blow over. It's not a big deal. No, no, no. This is a big deal. It is a moment in time, and it has to be taken very serious. And as owners, as business leaders, we all have obligations to take care of other people. So that's the obligation of that business owner. And then when you um, thinking about the future of potential volumes in sales, think about what are you going to do to rebook your guests into the chair. How are you really structuring your salon to think about how do I schedule my associates to have the social distancing? Do I need to extend hours? If you're not open 7 days a week, do you need to think about
Yeah.
opening 7 days a week? um, do you want to contact the guests? Think about different offers that you can offer them to prepay or come in and schedule an appointment in advance, and then have the stylist really sit down and think about what is their formulation, what is the experience going to be like, what products will they need to recreate the look. Those are the questions that you should start getting your stylist to think about as they're thinking about entering back the workforce.
Yeah. I think all good advice. And just paying attention to what everybody else is doing,
Yeah.
because unfortunately there is no, I feel like there's no sort of mandate. I mean, every single city is different, every state is different. And yeah, and I think it's such the whole thing is, I was just saying to you guys before we got on, I mean, the craziness, there was a barber in Michigan right now that's got a bunch of people down. He opened, he wasn't supposed to, down around the corner, and people are wanting to get their hair cut, and there are men there with guns, that his friends saying, you will not arrest this man, he's got haircuts to do. It's
Oh
crazy.
boy.
Like, like whoever thought that this would
Wow.
happen to
Never
us,
dreamed.
Wow. Wow.
Never dreamed.
but it's,
No, they're definitely very uncertain times, right? And I
Yeah.
think now more than ever, we need to take a pause, take a step back, realize that we have to do this in a way that puts everybody safe, get through this
yeah,
safely because we want to get through it, right? We want to get through it, and we
right.
will get through it. I mean, we are the United States of America. We will get through it. We will prevail. We will figure out how to come together. In the beauty industry in general is the best industry to be in because we rally together, we support each other, and we help each other. And that's what this is all about right now. When I think about all the companies doing all this type of education, yourself with the university and the different classes and how you've made it affordable, our education force and how they're on social media doing free education, all the brands that we all know and love, they're doing the same. Use this as an opportunity to fill your creative cup back up so that you can go back in and you can make other people feel beautiful, right? And at the end of the day, that's what our jobs are, is to make people on the inside and outside look and feel beautiful. And,
Yeah.
I think about that with you. And on a lighter note, I think about you've been doing that for 20 years and this is your 20th anniversary. So congratulations to you guys. That's
Yeah.
Thank
a huge
you.
milestone, huge,
Yeah.
huge milestone. But you've had many evolutions of behind the chair in the last 20 years, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sure you're sitting there right now thinking about what the next 20 years looks like. And I know it's hard to figure out what the future looks like in a time when everything's changing. But what is some of the thoughts that are on your mind as an industry leader, as a business that's leading in the industry? How are you thinking about the future of your company as it go forward?
Well, okay, so the theme that when I started behind the chair, like one of my problems sometimes is I'm a little bit too in advance of the stuff that happens, right? So, like behind the chair, like we spent millions of dollars even trying to get hairdressers to even buy a computer, like it's kind of funny going back 20 years, like hairdressers are coming out of beauty school that weren't alive when I started this company 20 years ago, to give you some perspective. And so, the way that I try to the way that I look at everything that I do is I take a lot of disparate data. So I take like all the different things that are happening around me and around in the business, and I start just researching lots and lots of things. And I often go outside of the industry. So now thinking about BTC and where are we going and where's the industry going and where's behind the chair going. So what would my next step be? We're in a pandemic. We're all locked up, literally, figuratively, and literally. We're a captive audience. My team is safe. We have the money to get through this. That was the very first thing I did because I lost so much money in 2008. I was never going to be in that situation again. Just was never. I was never going to be in a situation. I made a promise to my team before we all left that day and said, your rent payment is my rent payment, your college loans are my college loans, and I'm going to take care of you. And, and this has been hard because we've lost a lot of business. So what am I doing right now? First of all, I'm thinking about, what does a habit make? 21 days is a habit. What are we all doing habitually? Because now we've not only been locked down for 21 days, we've been locked down twice as long. So what I start to do is look at what is actually happening in trends completely outside of this industry. So what's happening? I start looking at the stock market as well, which makes zero sense to me. So watch for the big crash, unfortunately. But it makes zero sense to me. But what's happening? Netflix, we know, is going to go up, right? So we're thinking about what habit. So my habit has been that I've gained the quarantine 15.
Yeah,
So
you
my
and me
habit
both.
has been that I have not been social distancing from my refrigerator. But some people look at Peloton, like everybody's been on their bikes, and look what's happened to that. So that stock has actually just gone sky high,
Right.
and they it wasn't going to happen, but it's continued to go sky high. So I'm not paying attention to what's going on. I mean, of course, I'm paying attention to what's going on in our industry. My editors are doing that, but I'm also paying attention what actually is happening in the world right now. The first thing that I'm thinking is, what is happening at home? We're at home. 21 days makes a habit. Now we're twice as long as that. So what are the habits that we're experiencing? Okay, I'll tell you some of the key things. We are looking at everybody's been going live way more than they've ever experienced before. We're all doing Zoom meetings. We looked at a hotel for 2021 after seeing a hotel for the BTC show for 2021 in Atlanta was one of the locations. And it was a complete, a whole digital thing. And I'm like, why do I ever have to get on a plane again to see a hotel? Right. I was able to feel like I was right there. So we have to be thinking about what can we be doing online and what are we doing online and how are we habitually changing the way we're thinking. we're seeing that hairdressers got on a lot, right? So we know that digital education is going to be huge. Also, we have to think about, so every manufacturer that's out there has got to be thinking, can we do this digitally? Do we really have to have all these in-salon classes? Like, what makes an in-salon class great versus a digital class? Like, can we do both? Like, we had social climbing. We had 800 people from 21 countries on social climbing, and it was a 10-hour class, and we didn't have to have people get on airplanes. So what we're thinking about is, what are these different things that we're doing that are having huge effects on the business? The manufacturers that are not right now loud, they're gonna unfortunately, and some of them are doing amazing things, like L'Oreal is trying to pay their people, so they've had to pull back on all of their advertising. But those that have big voices right now have big opportunities, and I say that to salons as well.
Yeah.
Those salons that are online right now, they're really doing a lot of digital. They're really paying attention to their clients right now. Their clients will remember that. How you show up today in the worst situation, everybody will remember whether you were there for them or not.
Bingo. That's the statement right there. That is really the statement. Yeah.
And I just think that as we continue to build our business, we had a big social meeting today talking about what we're seeing that's different than what we were seeing a month ago. And what are we seeing in Facebook Lives? What are we seeing in Insta Lives? What are we seeing in different kinds of content? And like I said, we had 1 million visits to the site in 1 week, all because of coronavirus. So, and because of getting people updated and making sure. So this is good business to do the right thing. It's good business to help people where they need that support and that help. And there's never been a better time to communicate with hairdressers, because they literally are captive, so manufacturers that are not doing that are going to realize that the manufacturers that are, or the brands that are going to have a big, big way head start in front of them, because everybody will remember who was there. So I think for us, we'll continue, but yet we love having shows. We love being able to be close to people. I think people need that. So we'll continue, of course, to do that. But I think we're looking really strongly at digital education. And I think there's lots and lots of opportunities to be able to expand in that area. And honestly, thinking about the next 20 years, I just want to do a do-over year next year for our 20th anniversary.
Right.
We're not, but
2020 we just skip over.
I was on the phone with USA Today. I had a 2-hour interview with them. I was on the phone with, is it called Block Chicago today? We had a big article in Allure magazine, taking all the statistics and the data, and Washington Post picked up all of our data. So like right now, we seem to be the only one that's providing actual true, data that can be tabulated and cross-tabulated, different age groups, things like that we're releasing a lot of data. So this freaking press pays attention to hairdressers in a positive way, So right now I haven't thought too much about the next 20 years other than trying to pay attention to what we're learning through this crisis and how we can, and doing the right thing, is good business. You know what I'm saying? It really is. It's just doing the right thing can be good for business. And helping to take care of your constituency.
No, I was gonna piggyback off what you were saying, because I know that so much of this digital education has opened up all of our eyes in terms of like, what opportunities did we not realize that we had prior to this? We were doing all these things and we were like, actually, this was just as effective. And we didn't realize it until we were forced to sort of do it because we didn't have any options. And so now, flight costs, hotel costs, all those things, I think it's going to be a whole new frontier in terms of delivering education, just because we were forced to learn that we could actually do this. We got into this rut of just doing it because that's how we did it. I do want to ask you a question, because it has bubbled up about 6 or 7 times on the feed while we've been here. Speaking of in-person events, I know we're just getting to the point where the one-shot award entries, everybody's putting those in, and everybody wants to know what your feelings are, or if you can look into your crystal ball about whether or not the one-shot awards are still going to be happening. Is it going to be a digital experience, or?
No, so we're still full steam ahead with the show. I mean, we have over 2,200 to 2,300 tickets are sold. We've only had literally 2 cancellations from Australia because they can't get on a plane. We literally have none. I mean, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it is. We've had 2 manufacturers out of 20 on main stage not be able, they're not going to be joining us because of their financial issues, but that's it. I mean, so we've got 40 brands. Hopefully Texas, will continue. We have meetings with them every single day. We've got a theme for it called Homecoming, because we all need to come home to each other. And I think, everybody is desperate to have that show. And so One Shot, 1,000%, regardless of, I'm going to try to be an optimist here. And I'm just going to keep saying the show will go on. I know I'll be there. We're already working on masks for everyone. Of course, cute masks. But we're working on masks for everyone. The backpacks are going to be going to press pretty soon. So at this point, we fully anticipate, we know Atlanta is actually opening up. All of Georgia is opening we were on the phone with them today, all for events over 50 people starting June 1st. Like, they can have entire events there. So each state, determines those situations. So for One Shot, we ended last week on Monday. We had over 200,000 entries, even though for 6 weeks they couldn't do hair. So that was, pretty amazing. And the work is really incredible. So from about 80 countries around the world. So we're super excited. And I feel like we need that show so desperately. So God willing, we'll be in San Antonio.
Yeah, we're there too.
Yeah. We had to reschedule. We had rescheduled Seattle. Everybody, there's not a single person that wanted their money back for Seattle, so that's been rescheduled to November. We did have to cancel Miami, but that's being rescheduled. It's been rescheduled for February. We rescheduled London. Who knows what that's going to happen in? So it's like crazy, right? We spend all this time redoing what we've already done.
I know. I know.
So it's October and November, we'll be in Nashville November will be in Nashville and in Seattle. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. And, we're just so hopeful that we don't have a second outbreak. I think all of us are just like holding our breath a little bit and hoping that doesn't happen. But yeah, we need One Shot, and it's been really good that everybody's been able to still be creative. And honestly, I've been way more creative. I think it's been interesting to be cooped up in a sense, because we spend a lot of time with ourselves. And I don't know, I feel very creative, more creative than I have in a really long time, and very,
awesome.
very inspired, because I think that when we go into these dark places, if everything is great all the time, then you don't appreciate when, like if it's all great and nothing bad ever happens, when you go to the bad and we're in the bad, you just so appreciate the great, and you're so inspired, by I just think that it stopped a lot of the bullying online, except for, the issue of going, but so many of the things that we saw happening online, a lot of that stopped. There's some bullying because of people wanting to go back to work versus not wanting to go back to work. But other than that, I think people have been very supportive of each other.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Well, unfortunately, we could talk for hours, but our time is wrapped up. We're going to get kicked off the server. So, Mary, I want to thank you for spending your time and really talking through with us everything that you're working on. Thank you for being a voice for the industry and the hairdresser and the professional out there. I know we're going to have many more of these conversations because it's going to continue to evolve, right? And we want to make sure that we're staying at the forefront of it all and making sure that we're staying connected as an industry and connected with each other. So thank you again for spending your Monday evening with us. I look forward to seeing you soon.
So appreciate it. And good luck to all of you and your associates, and Godspeed,
Yes, for sure.
All of this.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Say hi to the team.
Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. And lots of great conversation. I mean, we literally could sit here and talk about it all night long. Just the environment today, where we're going tomorrow, the industry. I mean, it's never for a lack of conversation, and that's why I love having Mary on to really talk about all that. So good conversation, lots to think about, lots of processing as we think about entering back into society slowly, confidently, and cautiously. That's what I would say. And that's really the gist of all this, is that it's about putting yourself, our associates, and our guests' safety first and foremost above anything else. And that's what I'm proud that we've done as a company, is really take a very thoughtful approach to all that. So, Ammon, that is everything to do with where we are in the world today. Talk about where we're going in the world for the rest of the week on the show.
Yeah, stimulating, thought-provoking conversation today. Gonna lighten it up just a little bit on Wednesday. Wednesday is all about the eyes, so it's a makeup segment that's purely focused on different ways that you can do eye, different eye looks. We have our pro
Love
team
it.
member Denny Adam, and then celebrity makeup artist Jenna Christina going to be on with us then. Yeah, so it's going to be a good
That's
week.
awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm excited to see that. They're both
Yeah,
really talented artists.
absolutely.
So, a lot coming up, and then we have more that we're going to share with you for Friday, but you're going to have to come back on Wednesday to hear what we're doing on Friday. But you don't want to miss any of these shows this week. We promise it's going to be super stimulating, really great content. First and foremost, take care of yourself. We really appreciate you spending your Monday evening with us, but we look forward to seeing you right back here Wednesday night. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys.